A big day in Kansas City. A lot happening at City Council. They are expected to approve a $2.5 billion budget today. Of course, the backdrop also to what's going on is the future of the city manager, Brian Platt, who is right now on paid leave. Councilwoman Melissa Robinson is here out of the 3rd District, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio. And she has been vocal on wanting to remove Brian Platt from that position. Good morning, Councilman. Thank you for the time. Why is it that Brian Platt, in your estimation, should be done as city manager?
Good morning, sir. Thank you for having me. This really all boils down to a decision by the court that was made a couple of weeks ago. And if we're going to take that decision by the court seriously, the court ruled in favor of the plaintiff, Chris Hernandez, who accused our city manager of directing him to lie to the media. And so we have to make a decision. Is that egregious enough to terminate his employment? And I believe that it is.
So for you, it's more about that. I would be curious to get your thoughts. I see the Urban Council also called for his firing and says that he has weaponized city resources against black employees and has a documented pattern of racism. Do you believe and agree with their assessment of the city manager?
I am increasingly concerned with the lawsuit with Chris Hernandez. It's, over $900,000. Our settlements, that a lot of them are rooted in discrimination. I have been very vocal that, as we increase these settlements, we have to ensure that we're putting things in place. I'm not satisfied with how the city has been responding to discrimination in the workplace. And so as we are looking at our budget, over $13 million of taxpayer dollars going to lawsuits, it's a challenge for me. And so I believe that people should be able to come to work, that they should be able to be free from discrimination in the workplace. And I have been vocal about my dissatisfaction with our employee, the city manager, on that.
I saw, too, that, or heard this as well, that I guess the police department had a big settlement of, what was it, $10 million somewhat recently? Is that right? In a lawsuit?
I don't have all the facts on that.
Okay. Yeah. I think the mayor had referenced it on our show. I guess I look at that, too, and I say, what is that fine line between saying, hey, someone's doing a good job or we think they're doing a good job, but we've got these lawsuits to deal with? Do you think that there is a lawsuit culture that also may be too prevalent at City Hall? Do you see that as part of the equation here?
No, sir. I don't see that as part of the equation. I see this as we have to have public trust in our government. And so unfortunately, we're at a situation in which we're losing that credibility and that public trust. And we're paying your dollars, taxpayer dollars, are going for these lawsuits. And so it's about accountability. But it's not a litigious environment is not a part of the decision for me today.
Okay. So where do you think this goes today? If you had your druthers, would the city manager be terminated today? And do you believe there are the votes to make that happen?
Well, I'm certainly hopeful. I can only speak for myself. I do believe that this is egregious enough to terminate the city manager. And I'm hopeful and have faith and trust that that's the direction that we'll go in today.
And then what direction would you like to see them go next if that process does end up playing out that way?
I want to ensure that all trains are moving in the city. I feel like we have a lot of talent within the city of Kansas City, within the city government, and I hope that we will look internally for a city manager, at least through this council term, which ends in 2 years.
When it comes to your background with Brian Platt, when he got the job in 2020, were you satisfied with that hire or no?
It was more about the process for me. We set out a process that, we would have the top 3 candidates. Those top 3 candidates were leaped over, and he was added. And so I took issue with the process.
Mm-hmm. And what part of the process exactly was bothersome to you?
Well, when you come up with the charter allows our mayor to put forth a candidate, but it's a collective. We have to ratify that candidate. And so we made an agreement within ourselves, a process that was set, that we would choose the top 3 candidates. And we looked at all of their, we used a merit-based system. We looked at all of their qualifications. And our current city manager was not on that list. And so I believe that when you set out parameters, you have to follow those. And he wasn't on my list because of some of the things that I advocated for as I looked at his experience, and I looked at, some of the things that he had leadership over before coming to Kansas City. That's why he didn't make my top 3. But it wasn't just me. But he was employed. I was in the minority as it relates to that decision. Only 4 people on the council out of 13 decided that did not select him in that position, but he got the job.
Should race be a determining factor in any of these hires?
No, race should not be. We have to, I lean into a merit-based system, and I lean into the fact that we have to hire people based off of their qualifications. I do believe in representation. I do believe that we don't have the level of representation that we need as it relates to people of color, but they have to be qualified first. Qualifications is a first step. And so that's what we have to make our decisions off of. We have to make our decisions off of who is most qualified. And we can't disadvantage people based on race.
Mm-hmm. And that I agree. That could theoretically work both ways, correct? Because it does seem like there's an element here of Brian Platt being in the spot that he's in and people calling for his job because of his race. Do you think that is happening? Whether, I'm not saying that's you, but do you feel like that's happening with some folks who want to see Platt out?
Well, let's look at the facts, Mr. Mundo. This employee has been given every opportunity to succeed, unfortunately, we're still at this place. And so, no, I don't think it's based off of race. I believe it's about accountability. It's about actions. Yes, we do have discrimination lawsuits. Yes, there are people in City Hall that are afraid of their jobs, but race isn't the only factor. Those organizations, their mission is really rooted in addressing racial injustice. And so, of course, they're advocating for what their mission is. As a city council member, we cannot just make a decision based on someone's race. We have to look at what their actions are, what's in the best interest of the city, what's fair, what's just, what's true. If I came on your show and I was found to lie to you, you would probably not have me back on your show because you can't trust what I say. And so that's the juncture that we're at right now. It's really about public trust. It's about this court decision. And that's what we need to focus on. We need to, yes, we're passing a $2 billion budget. We have a homeless crisis. And we're going to, if we don't appeal this and win, we're going to be paying more than $1 million in a lawsuit. And that's what the public needs to be concerned about today.
Mm-hmm. So as we look at what's next here, Melissa Robinson, Kansas City, Missouri City Councilwoman, is on KCMO. What would you say then Brian Platt's lack of success is in terms of the job, or do you think it's more about this stuff behind the scenes at City Hall that the public does not see? Are there things on the job that you think he has failed at as well during his tenure?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that. I respect his position. I've treated him with dignity and respect. And I'm solely focused on the crossroads we're at on today. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to, malign him or give you a whole list of reasons of why. I'm not going to do that. Mm-hmm. I want to focus on the issue at hand.
So you will be lobbying and advocating for his permanent removal today. And I know you got the budget as well to deal with today. Do you think that there will be time to handle the future of Brian Platt, or will this potentially be delayed because you guys obviously have the budget to focus on today?
The charter does require us to ratify the suspension, and so we will have to, by charter, take this up today.
Okay.
So the expectation is we will move forward with some action that will be public.
Gotcha. All right. Well, Councilman, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming on KCMO, and we will be in touch with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That is Melissa Robinson, Kansas City, Missouri City Councilwoman out of the 3rd District, obviously lobbying on behalf of the removal of the city manager.